Hey everyone, today we're going to be reviewing the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch. This is the Sapphire Sandwich variation. I'll place the retail price, the specifications, the reference number, all of that on the screen so you guys can take a look at, you know, how this would compare to other watches in your own collection or maybe watches that you're cross-shopping. The Speedmaster is one of those pieces. It's immensely popular. It has a great history. It's very versatile. And I would say it's one of those three models that first-time luxury watch buyers generally look into. They're looking into the Speedmaster, looking into the Seamaster, also from Omega, and they're looking at the Black Bay from Tudor. There are some other watches, but those three I would say are the main players for someone wanting to foray into watches that cost north of $3,000 up to around $5,000 for the going rate. And I'm going to talk about my experience as an owner, the good, the bad. I am a big fan of this watch, but I recognize it has flaws, it has faults, and may not be the perfect first luxury purchase for you. So for those of you shopping this watch, maybe looking at the El Primero, maybe looking at the Seamaster or the Black Bay, I hope to give you just some more information to help you arrive at the decision that will be best for you. So let's jump into the details. We'll talk about the way this wears, some of the features, some of the drawbacks. So this version, again, is the Sapphire Sandwich, so it's a little bit different from the Professional, the Hesalite, that carries the more dramatically domed Hesalite crystal on the top. That one certainly has its loyal fan base, its following. I've owned that watch in the past. I think it's a very charming piece. And it does not carry kind of this smoky ring that you get around the circumference of this box sapphire crystal. I know this ring here, this grayish ring, is a turnoff or a deal breaker for a lot of watch guys, and that's why they just, they want to see the movement through the exhibition case back, but they just can't deal with the crystal on the top of the watch, so they go with the Hesalite. Now, the Sapphire Sandwich carries a premium of $1,000 retail over the Hesalite, and at the end of the video, I'll talk about which one I think is a better purchase. Is the premium worth it or justified? We'll get into that in a minute. But again, Sapphire, so you have the scratch resistance of a sapphire crystal. This does carry anti-reflective treatment on the underside of the crystal, which is very nice. And the thing that I love is its thinner and overall profile or overall height, which I think makes a difference on wrist, and I prefer the trimmer wearing fit of the Sapphire Sandwich. Now this does carry 50 meters of water resistance, and I will tell you guys, I have no problems washing this under the tap, cleaning this from time to time. If I were out and it started raining heavily outside, I wouldn't be worried about my watch. But I would not submerge this. I wouldn't take this swimming. I wouldn't take this to the lake. I would want to limit its exposure to water because we do have a few extra places where water can leak in through the gaskets and potentially damage the movement inside and create issues. So I would say you're safe to wash this under the tap from time to time, but no more in my opinion. Now let's talk about the fit. I mentioned I like the trimmer profile. But this watch has a great stance on wrist. It's not overly dominant. It does have nice light play, but it's not cumbersome or uncomfortable. My wrists are 7.25 inches in circumference. So I really do like the way this fits on the OEM or the original equipment manufacturer bracelet. I like the 5-link design. I like the subtle taper. I like the oval cross section here if we're looking at the links at a perpendicular angle. This has a very nice drape and fit, screw links to keep it together, a milled clasp here with a push button to point opening. And I do want to mention that the clasp is not as nice as other Omega clasps like you would find on a Seamaster or a Planet Ocean that are a little bit more substantial, have a oval push button opening that's a little easier to operate. The push button opening here is circular and smaller, And with the Speedmaster, you get two different micro adjustment holes that you will need a spring bar tool or a push tool to make that adjustment. On the Planet Ocean, on the Seamaster, you get that micro adjustment system that you can use without tools on the fly. So it's not as nice as other Omega class, but overall the Bracelet I really enjoy. And I would say if you like a more substantial watch on wrist, you would enjoy this Bracelet, the look, the way it feels, and the drape of it. I really do. And I'm a Bracelet guy, so I can say that with 100% confidence. But if you have wrists that maybe are sub 7 inches, I think the lug-to-lug length from the rigid center links here might be a bit uncomfortable for you. So fortunately, this watch is an absolute strap monster. It's so versatile. It looks great on an Ericas. It looks great on the NATO. It looks great on leather. You could really play with some different options and bring that overall lug-to-lug length down a bit so you could wear this on a smaller wrist in comfort. So that's always an option. And I don't take it off the Bracelet that often, but every time I do, I look at how great it looks, how versatile it is, and that's something that I can appreciate as a watch fan. Now let's talk about the movement. This carries the Omega 1863 caliber, which is based off of the 1861 that you would get in the Hesalite crystal version of the Speedmaster Professional. This carries 18 joules. It has 48 hours of power reserve, a 3 hertz beat frequency, so 21,600 vibrations per hour. But be aware, this has no hacking. It's not particularly accurate. This is not chronometer certified or meta certified like you would get in a Seamaster or a Planet Ocean. So you look at this and the architecture, you know, it's classic. We have cam lever actuation here. There is no vertical clutch. So it's fairly simplistic in its design, but guys, look how beautiful this is. I can't get enough of the anglage. The way you can see all of the components of the movement, you know, not obscured by an automatic winding rotor or mass. And I don't know, guys, this is one of the highlights or the selling points for me. I like looking at this traditional movement and seeing the play here between the rhodium plated brushed and polished areas, the Geneva striping, the red of the synthetic rubies, and then that gilt or gold tone of the balance on some of the gear train here. I mean, this thing is, I would say, classically beautiful, and really helps, I don't know, it really helps you see where your money's going. You don't see a plastic brake here or a composite brake like you would get in the 1861. And so, I don't know, this really, paired with the thinner profile, the scratch resistance of Sapphire, this is one of the reasons why I prefer this over the more traditional Hesalite version. You might feel differently, that's totally fine. I'm not trying to convince you of either way, I'm just telling you of my own experience. Now this watch does come in a massive big box presentation kit, which again, it's kind of silly, but it's one of the draws of this watch. You know, the extras, you get a loop, you get a pretty nice NATO. Omega charges a pretty penny for their nylon straps, but you do get a black one included with purchase. You get a strap changing tool, you get some cool booklets. Really, the design of this is a lot of fun. Even though it's totally ridiculous, it takes up a lot of space in a closet or wherever you store your watch boxes, but it's fun to spend some time with and just take a look at the different things that are included. Now, you also get a strap that would be akin to something that the astronauts would use as they strapped their own Speedmasters on the outside of their spacesuits and use them in low Earth orbit, on the surface of the moon, another celestial body in our heavens. So, I mean, the history is great. The big box is ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. Overall, this is a really fun model. So I do think it's a worthy watch to do some homework on and check out. If you want to add a chronograph, you want to add something with history, something with some name cachet, some provenance, I guess you could say. This is certainly one to consider, but I will tell you from personal experience that you can get a nicer, more sophisticated, more contemporary watch that feels more of a luxury piece at a similar price point. So if you wanted something like that, I would suggest going with the Seamaster. You get ceramics, you get crazy luminescence, you get a Metis certified movement that you can see through an exhibition case back. You get the micro adjustment system in the clasp. You get a great wood style lacquer presentation box, versatile, a little bit less in price when it comes to the going rate and the retail price. So technically you could get a superior, at least when it comes to contemporary design elements, a more luxurious feeling watch in a Seamaster, but you just can't beat this history. This is classic, and I would say this is more like a vintage watch produced in the modern era. You look at the dial on a macro level, you see the texture, you see the white coated hands, you see the printed C3 luminescent application. You know, and this isn't very sophisticated. There is no ceramics. It's not particularly tidy. We don't have applied markers. We don't have black polishing on the handset. We don't have an applied logo. We don't have hacking. That's a big deal to a lot of people. People will say, well, you know what? I get hacking in my $500 Seiko. Absolutely, you do. That can be an issue here. We have an aluminum tachymeter insert, and I believe this one's running about plus 10 seconds per day for me on the time grapher, which is completely what you would expect with a Speedmaster with an 1861 or an 1863 movement. Something to be aware of. A deal breaker for some, but a non-issue, a non-starter for other watch fans. Now, just in closing, guys, I want to talk about the future of the Speedmaster because this could influence your decision on whether you want to purchase this watch, a Zenith, a Planet Ocean, you know, whatever you're shopping right now, a Tudor, a Grand Seiko. Omega will be updating the Speedmaster Professional. Before the COVID thing, they were wanting to roll it out this fall, end of the year, but now that's up in the air. I'm not sure when exactly the new Speedmaster Professional will be unveiled, but we can't estimate with confidence that it will be within 1 year. And the only thing we know for certain is that we will get an upgraded movement that will be called the Caliber 3861, still based off of the 1861, the Lamania architecture, but it will have some very nice upgrades. It will have hacking, it will be a chronometer, it will be anti-magnetic, so it will go through the Metis certification. It will be a very impressive movement. Now, that being said, Omega will take the opportunity to do a price adjustment, a market correction for arguably their most historic and iconic watch in their entire collection. And so I think the days of $5,000 Hesalite versions and $6,000 Sapphire Sandwich will be long gone. So guys, I don't know what the pricing is going to be, but I would imagine it will be closer to $10,000 than it will be closer to $5,000 if I had to estimate. So that will affect some decisions. Should you buy a watch now that you can get, it's available, it will go up in value on the secondary market, maybe not a lot, but marginally. That's always a nice thing. Should you hold off for the update? What are they going to do to the case? Are they going to do ceramics? You know, what exactly is going to happen? I don't have the answer, but the only thing I do know for sure, better movement, upgraded movement, more contemporary movement, better suited to the watch enthusiast who cares about the, you know, the crazy accuracy, the anti-magnetic properties, hacking, all of that stuff. And it will likely be quite a bit more expensive. So take that as you will. Thanks for watching my presentation today, guys. Let me know if I missed something. If you have a question, maybe I didn't convey a particular point very clearly, I'm happy to try to elaborate that. So reach out in the comments or via personal email. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.